And welcome to part 4 of the Construction and Materials Dashboard tutorial series. In part 3, we discussed the main panel of the dashboard and what the main data fields mean. In part 4, we're going to be going into a little bit more detail as to the kind of data granularity that the dashboard has to offer. So to really get into the nitty-gritty of our data we have available, you're going to want to get into Manage Requirements. Manage Requirements shows a number of tabs along the top, and these tabs are all sorted for you by the program depending on where each requirement falls. So we have the first tab is Pay Stoppers. These are items that will that have been paid for or partially paid for, but will stop payment to the contractor if a certification or testing requirement has not been met. Next to that, we have non-pay stoppers, which will provide payment to the contractor. Site manager will not withhold payment if these testing or certification requirements have not been met. However, these items will show up on an IPSM once the job goes into finals. Next to that, we have the Open Certs tab, which discusses certifications that would be required for items that have not been paid yet. This job does not have any open certifications to show. Next to that is Open Tests, which are tests that would have to be performed if an item were to be paid for, but that item has not been paid for yet. This job does not have any of those either. Next to that, we have approved products list items. These are items that would need an approved products list, form TA556, if an item was installed. Next to that, we have Open ACL tab, which are items that would require an ACL form TA555D2B to be submitted to the lab if the item was installed. This particular job has temporary erosion matting on it, so if you were to use this temporary erosion matting, you would need to submit that form. And next to that, we have small quantity items. These are items that would require a TA555D2D to be submitted to the lab once they are paid for. And right next to that, we have open minor quantity items, which will require a form TA557 to the lab once they are paid for. And right next to that, we have all open materials. These are materials that have open material requirements on them, but have not been paid. And just to be absolutely clear, anything that's in this open tab here has not put in a payment yet, so it will show up if these items or a payment has not been submitted on these items. Last but not least, we have a satisfied requirements tab. These are all the items that have completely satisfied testing and materials. So if you scroll over to the requirement status column, you see we have good to go, meaning these tests and certifications have been fully met. So to go through a little bit of the data columns that each of these tabs provides, there's quite a bit of data available to users to inform them as to what's going on in the site manager database that everybody's using to track this stuff. On the far left, we have a PIN number, we have a pay item, we have a pay item description, supplemental description if one is available. We have a line number, a material item number, the material name, the test or certification that is required to meet this requirement. We have a requirement status. This can be used to give you a little bit of an idea as to what's going on here. If whatever the issue is that is holding up the material from being fully certified or tested. We have this is a pay stopper column. These are of course yes, because we're in the pay stoppers tab. If this is no, it will appear in the non-pay stoppers tab. We have if this is a minor quantity. It's not, of course. If it was, it would appear in the minor quantity. We have whether this is a small quantity item. According to the dashboard, it is indeed. We have a bid plus change order quantity. So this is the total quantity that per contract, per fully updated contract with any change orders that is reported. We have an installed quantity. This is the amount that has been reported to site manager by field staff. We have a reported quantity, which is this is represented quantity, which means this is the amount that has been represented through sampling or testing, sampling, or certification. And herein lies the issue with this item. You see we have an installed quantity of 64.25 and a represented quantity of 50. So this does not, the represented quantity is less than the installed quantity in this case, and we trigger an error state and it appears on the pay stoppers tab. Here's the satisfied quantity, which is the amount of the material that has passed tests or passed certification. You see we have 50 represented and 50 satisfied, so there's no issue there. We then have a pay item unit of measure, which is linear feet, and we have a material unit of measure, which is pounds. This can cause some confusion between the two when it comes to certification and sampling. We have a number of samples taken. We have an approved samples taken. Approval happens at the lab. This can be an issue. So if this was 0, you could send your friendly lab people a note letting them know that they need to approve your sample. We also have a non-authorized sample of 0 here, so these have been fully authorized, and we have a total pay item cost. To provide even further detail, we can select a pay item, and then we can hit the certification sample details button. And this will report any certifications or samples that are in Site Manager at this time, which can be extremely handy when discussing different aspects of certification or sampling with the lab. So in these columns, we have our project PIN number, our material line, our pay item line number, our material code, material number, and the test or certification that's required. This is a Type D certification. Very big right here, we have the sample ID. So when corresponding with the lab, you can reference this sample ID directly to give them a better idea of what you're talking about for quick reference. We have a sample status for your reference. So there's a key right down here. Here's the sample approved statuses and the sample not approved statuses. So you can reference these when talking with the lab about what's going on with your samples and certs. We have a sample authorized column here. In both cases, this is yes. And we have a represented quantity. So this gives you a nice idea of kind of all the different types of data that can be accessed in the dashboard. So you no longer have to dig through Site Manager to get this type of stuff. It's right at your fingertips, and you can correspond with the lab more precisely due to this tool.